Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the second women's semi-final of the LA Sevens. New Zealand taking on the USA for a spot in the final up against the Australians. In terms of the starting lineups for New Zealand, it will be Georgia Miller, Stacey Waka, Risipori Lane, Mahina Paul, Sarah Hineni, Michaela Brake, and Jasmine Felix Hotham. For the USA, Ariana Ramsey, Elena Olsen, Sammy Sullivan, Sarah Levi, Kayla Kennett, Kirsty Kershey, that's a bit of a tongue twister, and also Ibarra, the last lady in the starting side. Australia dominating win over the Canadians, 33 points to 7. They made the statement, they've laid down the challenge, and now which one of these two sides is willing to answer it? Referee in charge, Jess Ling, her 40th match, the Australian, is in charge of this one. I don't think she will be in charge of the later final taking place for the women's side of things, now that Aussie have booked their spot, but there are some really talented players across this USA side. It would be considered an upset if they can get themselves the victory, as often New Zealand versus Australia has been the finals. But USA have got the ball 22 metres out from their own line after receiving the kickoff, with Sarah Levi hitting it up for the first contact. Kershey now cutting back inwards. Felix Hotham does make the tackle there. Sammy Sullivan, always one to watch out for. Quite aggressive compared to some of the other teammates at her side. That looked close to forward for the USA, but it's going to be a big run forward from Kayla Kennett. They're going to try and catch her. Michaela Brake trying to slow her down. In fact, they're going to let her through. And now only a few metres out from the try line for Ramsey. Oh, bit of hesitation there. Sammy Sullivan trying to fend off Waka, who's trying to spin her around and bring her back towards the 22, but a good start to this match for the USA, looking competitive right from the get-go. Off to the right-hand side, little bit of a step coming from Ramsey, offloads again, back across to the right-hand side, awkward bouncing ball, but well stopped before it did go into touch for Olsen. New Zealand wrestling her down with Stacey, or in fact it was Felix Hotham, counter-ruck coming from Sarah Hineni. And the USA managing to claim a counter-ruck again from New Zealand. Flicking it back was Georgia Miller. And New Zealand now in possession for the first time in the semi-final. Michaela Brake, you can't give her space. Tackled hard by Levi. And the USA get themselves the penalty for not releasing it as Christy Kershey, I should say. One of the more experienced heads in this USA team, showing every bit of experience there with the steal, but both of these teams, I'm sure, are very happy that we got a little bit of a break in play. The Sarah Hineni counter-ruck, then it was Felix Hotham who went the counter. Georgia Miller, smart play to flick it back. And then Kershey gets in low underneath of Risipori Lane. The USA, they need to continue playing like this, though. They can't afford to just have a couple good moments. That one's gone straight through the scrum. Let's go New Zealand, says Robert T. But now breaking through again. Some nice pace being shown. Ramsey looks for the offload, but it sits into the hands of Felix Hotham. Hineni with the risky pass out to... Oh, it's a knock-on from Georgia Miller. She holds her face and looks to the ref, but I think the knock-on happened first. That is some good pressure from the US in front of a home crowd as well, I should mention. That's something that we haven't said as of yet, but that can certainly make you take it to the next level. You see a lot of merchandise for the USA. That looks like they're going for Soraya Ibarra. 3 minutes now. They've already passed in this semi-final. USA have got themselves the scrum. Now popping that one up off to the left-hand side for Kayla Kennett. Moving just a little bit closer to the try line. Felix Hotham has to make the tackle. Michaela Brake gets over the ball and wins another penalty. This time for New Zealand, who are a little bit slower in terms of the decision. Looks like they're actually going to take a few breaths here before they decide what the plan is. Just letting themselves all get spread out too. Something that you don't normally see from New Zealand is that slower approach. Normally it's all gas, no brakes. But now nice run forward. Georgia Miller goes through, and maybe that's why they just wanted to make the USA think that they had some sort of moment to have a bit of a spell, and instead Georgia Miller gets the try, and New Zealand do get their first. Her 76th of her career, 28th of this Sevens circuit. And yes, there's Novmum there, but just goes straight through. Kayla Cannett tried to reach out, but couldn't quite grab her. And New Zealand do score the first try of this semi. Now, Australia in their match, they were able to score 5 tries. Their opposition, Canada, scoring the 1. I don't think this one's going to be as high scoring as that other contest. I do see it being a bit closer as long as the USA stay competitive. Georgia Miller, she is 5th in the overall rankings for series tries. Of course, Maddie Levi at the top with 54. No one will be catching her unless Michaela Brake scores about 16 tries in the final. And if she did that, then I don't know what's happened to Australia. Now back across to the right-hand side. USA just on their own 22. Trying to find a way through. Soraya Parky. They can attack. Oh, no. Sorry, not Soraya Parky. It was instead Mahina Paul. Getting my teams already mixed up. Of course, those two would be facing off if New Zealand do make it to the final. Would you say the women's sevens team generally play at a slower pace? I don't think so. I think that when you watch the likes of Aussie and New Zealand, like I said, this was a rare occurrence where where New Zealand actually did take a little bit of time before taking the tap. Normally, like by the end of the games, as we saw for the Australia game with Canada, Canada were absolutely blown off their feet by the Australians and the tempo that they were able to play at throughout their match. Records in semis, New Zealand 87%. They've been pretty impressive. Now, a few of those ones that they have actually lost, I believe, were to Australia. But now, time is back on. Line out throw here for New Zealand. Taken in the line out, looping around was Felix Hotham. In fact, this time, Poldy Lane now. Mahina Paul passes across to Michaela Brake. There's one of her 16. Ooh. Almost accidentally dropped their ball, but I think it was just the momentum of after it bounced that it did end up coming free. A great run from Michaela Brake again. 284 tries. There's some teams in the world that have not scored that many tries at this stage of their careers. Michaela Brake, though, does score them for fun, and that now gives New Zealand the 12-0 lead. The tough kick, it only makes it about half of the distance. They'll make the score 12 points to 0. And in terms of the overall all-time points, at the moment, Tyler King, also known as Tyler Nathan Wong, is in first. She's pretty close. Going to need 5 tries, they've just said. So she either has to wait till next year or she needs a very good final or a couple more in this match perhaps too. And that one is going to be kicked off by New Zealand, uncontested there for Cannett, who's able to drag it down. Georgia Miller tried to rip that ball off her while she was on the ground, so the penalty goes against her. She looks surprised, but it was the penalty. It looks like USA are going to be opting for the scrum. We found a mother cat who recently had kittens. I have so far rescued 2 of her kittens. One of them was in the engine bay of my car. So it said it wants to be a mechanic. With any luck, there are just 2 kittens. Yeah, well, if they're in the engine bay, there are probably a few other spots you may have to check. Find out where the rest of them are. The litter of kittens, as they're called. Nice bounce ball there for New Zealand, passing across. They've got a litter of tries in the semi-final, and guess who's got it again? Michaela Brake, the one who scores. She's getting closer. That all-time leading point scorer, now 285 tries on the board in New Zealand. That one might just about seal the deal, with now a very handy lead heading into the second half. Let's go, Georgia Miller. Sears the Blues, Nate. And there as well, but a very good try. And I feel like maybe New Zealand, yes, up against the USA, they normally come in as heavy favourites anyway, but you wonder whether or not there's a little bit of a competitiveness. Seeing the Australians score as many tries as they did, maybe New Zealand are going, nah, we can't let them have more. We've got to be the team that are considered the heavy favourites. At the end of the day, New Zealand did win the overall standings for the original season, which does mean that they did get the most points. Got a sad face from Highlanders fans, and I assume that is to do with the fact that the Highlanders were defeated by Moana Pacifica. Tell you what, Moana Pacifica are having a dream season at the moment in Super Rugby. Yes, the Highlanders would have loved to win that game, but now with the fact that Moana are a little bit closer, to going through. It was still like a back and forth kind of game. Could have gone either way, but in the end, Moana did get the victory. But in this game, it does look like New Zealand are going to be able to get themselves the victory unless something drastically changed. Surely Moana Pacifica will win the comp. Honestly, if they make it through to the playoff games, I don't think I'd want to play them. Although they are playing the Blues later on, so I do think that that will probably affect their overall standings. I think that maybe they will drop that game up against the Blues side. Currently, we are doing a little bit of multitasking. If anyone's wondering why they could hear typing, it is because in between these semi-finals, we are also getting the next live streams ready. Because of how hectic the Sevens Day is today, I don't actually get any time outside of streaming to be able to set these ones up, or not a massive amount of time anyway. Surely the men's Sevens win their semi. It's going to be a tough game. Up against the South Africans, they are a side that you certainly cannot underestimate, because when you do, that's normally when they punish you. So New Zealand will have to be on their A game. But I could see them causing an upset. I just think at the moment, though, that the other side should be a bit stronger, that being the blitz box. But now we are ready to go for the second half of sevens. And it will be the USA kicking this one off from right to left, looking like another New Zealand versus Australia final. In terms of when that one is taking place, kickoff of the women's final would be at 12, where is it? 12:05 is when that one will be taking place. But Michaela Brake, she's got the ball again, and she will run away. She's got her third. She's trying to catch up with that top try scorer of the season. She's got the hat-trick here for New Zealand for yet again another semi-final. I think she's got the most tries in finals rugby out of any player. Who do you support, Blitzbox or New Zealand? Honestly, I'm pretty impartial. I think that one hit the post, didn't it? Don't know if that one actually did go over, so the score will be 22 points to nil. Australia played well, isn't good enough for me. Kiwi girls are brilliant players, says JD, although Australia at times have been able to cancel New Zealand out pretty well, which is why I don't think New Zealand will go into that final. At the moment, we're speculating that they're going to win, but it does look like it is relatively likely. But yeah, I wouldn't guarantee that New Zealand feel confident heading into that game up against the Aussies. Yes, they'll have that quiet kind of confidence about them, but this Aussie side can still tear it up. That's going to be another penalty against New Zealand for ripping the ball away when a grounded player has got possession. Now, USA again are calling for the scrum from inside of their 22. We just haven't really seen a lot of Sammy Sullivan throughout this matchup, and that seems to be a bit similar to what we saw between Australia and Canada, how the New Zealand side, just like Australia, just wearing them down, trying to work them off their feet. Now, it is going to be the scrum. Time is back on. 5.5 minutes remaining. And like I said, the next match that is taking place is happening just around the corner. That will be the one taking place between between Spain and Argentina. Michaela Brake going to get sent off. I just heard someone in the crowd let out a massive no. So they were obviously keeping track of the overall tally for points. She's going to need a few in the final then to be able to get there. Currently just the 12 points behind. A New Zealand win, says Ponga there. Does look very likely at the moment. The Kiwis should be able to get the job done. Unless, it would be miraculous. But 4 tries from the USA needed in the next 5 minutes. Here comes the run from Thomas, and there's the drop ball. That's not going to help. And also a knock on from New Zealand too, so we will go back for the original scrum. Got to take any chance that is given to them and say break for the final, says Novmum. Yeah, I think that her versus Maddie Levi, they're always the two who seem to be able to run away, get the big tries. Although Faith Nathan, definitely another one to keep an eye out after the performance that she put in for the semi-final, the women's side of the draw. Currently just the 4.5 minutes remaining, and New Zealand will be looking for another try, at least. Hopefully our Aussie girls come through. New Zealand girls rocking, says JD now. A nice step from Jasmine Felix Hotham. She'll go through and score the try again for New Zealand. That is now their 5th of the match, I believe. Now, New Zealand haven't been able to convert too many of their tries as of yet. I believe just converting 1 out of the 4 attempted. Hopefully, I read that one. And Kikaha Kiwi Wahine, says a JD there. Felix Hotham Scoring it between the posts. That will be an easy extra 2. So now New Zealand and Australia in their semi-finals have scored the same amount of tries. The question is, does New Zealand have enough time to be able to get one more and also end up with more points as well? Just a quarter of this game to go. Argentina versus Spain, the next contest that we are covering on the channel. I think it's scheduled to start at, it's 8:24 is when that one's going to be starting. Although I think they're running just a little bit behind in terms of the start times of their games. Now, just the 3 minutes left for the USA. I do think the Crusaders will win the comp. But morning, another domination from the ladies. Let's go for the finals. Here's Colin in there as well. And that final taking place at 12:05. So only getting about 3.5 hours of rest. Kicked forward again here. This is a great chance for the USA. It does sit up into the hands of Adegoke. Now they've got themselves the advantage. Back across. Oliver, bit of a handling error there, so they will go back for another penalty in favour of this USA team. Looking for the quick tap, and that is exactly what they will do now. Little flick pass off, another offload. This is a great chance for Tolliver, and she will score the try between the posts. What about to Joe Ride's team? I can't even work out what that's supposed to be honest with you. I was thinking maybe Tom Jordan was the closest I could see, but Georgia, no, not. Oh, how about Geordie's team is that? As in like Leinster, maybe that is supposed to be. But yeah, losing up against the Northampton Saints, a massive result for their opposition. That one is going to be going over. Making the score now 29 points to 7. Yes, this Highlanders fan. It took me a little bit to work it out. I was trying to work out who Joe Ride was. There we go. I've got there Tolliver. I should win Rookie of the Year. She's been outstanding throughout the season. She got a massive cheer as well when she made her way onto the field, which is nice to have that home field advantage. Now, I will mention stadium nowhere near full at the moment, and you wonder whether or not that is due to all of the changes that we've had in the Sevens landscape. That's a nice link-up play. Stacey Waka moving up to 22 metres out, inside ball, and it's the try for Serahirani. What are your predictions for the men's semis-finals or sevens final? I'm going Argentina and South Africa, which I know is a bit of a bold call, but I just feel like looking at the South African team at the moment, they just look the real deal. But if anyone's going to beat them, it would be the random underdog of New Zealand that every once in a while just pull off a massive game. I feel like the top 4 Investec would mop Super Rugby comp, says Robert T. Let's go, says Nate for Serahirani. Now 34 points to 7. So actually a very similar scoreline to what we did see in the other semi-final. That one's missed away to the side. She's now going to make the score with 1 minute remaining. 34 points to 7. New Zealand versus Australia. Pretty much the confirmed final. At least something really drastic changes. And poor shine from the US girls, though. Not taken away from the New Zealand girls. However, yeah, the first 4 minutes, USA were competitive. And they looked really strong. But then, unfortunately for them, the New Zealand extra gear kicked in. And USA just seemed to get swept off their feet a little bit. But to their credit, they are still trying. Now, 40 metres out from their line, Sammy Sullivan, someone who I think needed to be the forefront of this USA team heading into this game, but I think I've seen her touch the ball once. Now, sitting 15 seconds remaining, Sammy Sullivan will pop this one off to the right-hand side. Kayla Cannett runs out of space, looked a bit high from Tarita. And in fact, it's actually going to be for offside against New Zealand there. There is the full-time siren. The USA, the thing is, this is one of those moments where they're going to go for one more try, or at least they're going to try to get one. But at this stage, just playing for pride, last thing that they want is any sort of injury. Australia men's are shocking. I think so. Our women still trying. New Zealand too good, says JD. But the thing is, Australia in the group stage were able to beat the Fijians and also managed to get the win over Spain. So they actually didn't do terribly, but then in the next game, they just butchered it, unfortunately. Now a nice step coming in there. Tolliver Passes on the outside. Another good step inwards. New Zealand trying to get the steal and the breakdown. Resipolri Lane doesn't win the penalty. I think she was fully expecting to. Now back across. Oh, there's the big knock on. New Zealand have got the ball back to Rita. Tries to offload it. New Zealand under all sorts of pressure, and that is the end of the game, ladies and gents. New Zealand versus Australia, the confirmed final yet again. We will be, of course, covering that one on the channel. Taking place at 12:05 New Zealand time. Anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're going straight over to that next live stream, which is taking place between the Spanish and the Argentines.